Growing Up Weird.
Hi, and welcome to Growing Up Weird, the podcast where we explore how the earliest chapters of Western childhoods shape the health stories that we then carry into our adulthoods. Each week, we dig into the newest evidence, understand how it links together, and walk through some of the changes that we in the West could make to give kids decades of better health. Are you ready? Have you got a cup of tea? Good. We begin, as ever, with the news. Gwen, most important piece of news?
Yes, it is on outdoor play.
Oh, I thought the most important piece of news is that we're not on the bikes today.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did...
Meta news.
Meta
Alright,
news.
it doesn't matter. You clearly have a whole ream of news there I'm looking at. Let's have one from you, one from me, and we'll go back onto yours.
Yeah, okay, so this is a study done in Scotland from Dodd et al. And the question they asked was, does early outdoor play predict how a child's mental health develops over their childhood?
Huh, okay, yeah, sure.
Which is pretty cool, because I think about 16% of children in Scotland have an emotional or behavioural problem, so it's incredibly common, similar levels in, most of the other weird countries, Western
I wasn't sure
educated.
that was just a comment about Scotland.
Industrialised, rich and democratic. I know, I thought I'd quickly jump in there and say it's not just Scotland. But so what they said was, they did questionnaires when the children were aged 2, 3 and 4, and they asked parents, how often does your preschooler play outside? And then when the child was 5, 6, 7, the parents answered a strengths and difficulties questionnaire, so a questionnaire to try and understand whether a child's showing behavioural problems or emotional problems. And what they found was that the outdoor play significantly predicted the trajectory of children. So what that means is that children who played outside more as preschoolers were much less likely to have emotional and behavioural problems 3 or 4 years later.
Okay.
And yes, it was a study that relied on parent report, but it was well corrected for confounders. It was a longitudinal study, so you could track those children through. And it just provides another piece of information into the growing understanding of how much time playing outdoors is linked to how a child's health develops. And certainly we know that many mental health problems, such as anxiety and depression, often have their roots in early childhood. So actually, interventions targeting young children with outdoor play have the potential to really affect that child's experience of life right throughout their lifetime.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously I immediately want to dig into what is it about outdoor play, but I guess it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how it's working. It just
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, and there are so many things that are different if a child's playing indoors and outdoors. How much they move, how much light they're exposed to, how much their play is structured or unstructured, how social their play is. There are so many aspects, but I think one of the things that we're increasingly realising is that trying to be really reductionist about which particular element is important is just quite a futile thing when it's the whole system is delivering multiple different benefits, and isolating one and then being like, we should do more of this to get this one specific outcome means that actually we can fall behind on lots of other equally important ones.
That is interesting. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, you ready for a complicated weird one?
Okay, I love complicated and weird.
Yeah.
That's why I like you.
You're married to me. So
I got there first.
Okay. In about an hour and a half ago, Tian et al., from University of Washington School of Medicine, published in Nature, Biological Aging and Generational Shifts in Early Onset Cancer Risk. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for anybody not following the epidemiology of certain solid-state cancers and what's going on in biological aging, Gwen's reaction of ooh might seem a little, simian. But for anybody who is paying attention, this is really interesting, and I'm going to walk you through why. So, Gwen, I'm sorry, this is going to take a couple of minutes. Let's start with what biological aging is. Chronological aging is easy. You get about 365.27-ish days per year of that. What is biological aging, Gwen?
Biological aging is how your cells alter their function depending on the environment that you're in.
Yep.
So there are certain environments that mean that the clock inside your cells is running faster than time, and there are certain environments where it kind of slows it down.
Sure.
So I think for a long time we thought that aging is just a function of time, and we're increasingly realising that aging is not a function of time as much as it is a biological process where time is often an element in that progression.
So what does a biologically old set of cells look like?
A biologically old set of cells has got reduced capacity to repair the cells, to create new cells. Oh gosh, you're asking me like the 12 hallmarks of biological aging, aren't you?
But like off the top of your head, we've got
your proteins aren't happy.
They can't do their jobs so
Your mitochondria aren't
well.
working. Yeah, they can't. The cells can't do their jobs as well. The tissues can't do their jobs as well. The organs can't do the jobs as well. And then whichever fails first is the thing that you notice first.
Sure. But at an absolutely basic level, if I were to say that the cells don't have much energy left, they can't fix themselves as well, they can't make their proteins as much or as well as they used to, and eventually they drop into this state called senescence, where all they do is sit around, make a whole bunch of poisons, and don't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
They can't do the stuff they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They can't fix themselves.
And they can't not do stuff they're not meant to do.
And they can't, exactly.
Right. Those are biologically aged cells. And the more of those you have, the higher your biological age, but there are a bunch of other markers as well. I am labouring this point kind of deliberately because it's important.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of biologically old cells, you might imagine that you would be at increased risk of things like disease. Yeah?
Yep.
Not only would you be weaker and less fit, and you might look different, but you would be at increased risk of disease, is the theory. That has been well proven. In the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years now, since the 80s, there have been a lot of studies linking these signs of cells to health outcomes. Okay. Now here's where it gets really fun. Tien et al. From the University of Washington School of Medicine published in Nature that they had looked at 154,000 young Brits who were measured or had their blood taken and frozen, and some of it was analysed back in the late 50s.
Oh, okay.
And that's great. They then tracked these people to see whether they were likely to get diseases as they aged, and that was 70 years ago, more than 70 years ago. So they've done a significant amount of aging since then. Many of them got diseases, and you can see a strong association between markers of biological aging early and disease risk later. Not a massive surprise.
Yeah.
If your cells can't do their job so well, they can't defend themselves so well. I don't know what that smashing noise was. It slightly worries me, but I'm going to ignore it and deal with it after we've recorded this. They then went back to another biobank collection done in the UK in the 70s.
Okay.
And they looked at these markers of aging, cellular aging. Now, what percentage of people do you reckon were at least one standard deviation above the 1950 sample in terms of cellular aging?
Okay, so it sounds like a statistics question, but I'm assuming that you're saying that I would assume that however many it was in the 1950s who had higher levels of aging, I reckon it's going to be worse in the 1970s. So, yeah.
Roughly 20% more.
20% more, okay, all right. How many roughly was it in the 50s then?
Well, I mean, it was a roughly normal distribution, so...
Okay. Yeah, and it's
30%. I hate statistics.
I know.
It's 20% more.
Okay,
Don't ask me for gross
that's
numbers.
fine. 20% more. We can
it's
do that.
It's a bell curve.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Got it.
Okay. Forget all that stats and maths. The really interesting thing then is that these folks in Washington went and took a whole bunch more data.
Okay.
from the US, which obviously is not the same as the UK, but genetically we're not wildly different. And they compared the markers of cellular aging for people born in the 90s in the US. So if the 70s to 50s move was 20% more well above normal levels.
Yeah.
What percentage increase do we reckon there is for the 90s?
Well, your face is saying it's going to be big. I'm going to go with
big.
30.
Come on. Up.
40.
Up.
50.
Up.
60.
Up.
No. 70.
Up.
80.
Up.
90.
Just over.
Hang on.
92% increase, one standard deviation higher than those, at least one standard deviation higher than those born in the 50s.
Okay, all right.
So there is a lot more cellular aging going on quickly in younger people in the US than there were in the same age people in the UK 70 years ago.
Okay.
Obviously, there is a time difference here, but there's also a country difference.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's going to confound data.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge those aren't the same country. But as I said, genetically, we're not wildly different. What I think is really interesting is looking at why that might be the case.
Can I just clarify though? So what that's saying is that if we imagine people who are older adults now, who have a certain burden of cancer and a certain burden of chronic disease, if we think about people who are kind of our age now, then the burden of disease that is going to be on our generation at the same age is likely to be much worse.
Significantly worse.
Okay.
And this is some of the evidence that's led into the dire predictions by the WHO that we are going to be the first generation in history that doesn't live as long as our parents.
Right, okay.
It's a lot of it's based on this sort of predictive model of these markers lead to cancer.
Gosh, okay.
lead to kidney failure, lead to heart disease. And we didn't know why. It wasn't until the model of cellular aging was really clarified back in 1995 through 2015-ish, that we really got a handle on what the cascade process is here, that cells can't fix themselves, then they can't produce their proteins as well as they should, and then they can't fix the entire tissue. And as soon as that happens, you're just on a road to collapse. My fun analogy for that is a car mechanics workshop, or any other mechanics workshop, where you can only go as fast as you can reach the tools. And if you're having to constantly repair the workshop, then you can't get any work done. And eventually you can't even repair the workshop because there's just crap everywhere and it's constantly being injured from the outside. So I had a look at a number of meta-analyses around this, trying to work out what the major causes or what the priority order of major causes of cellular aging is, so we can say, look, if you want to do something about this, here are things to do. And obviously, big, major cause of increased cellular aging, Guinevere?
I might guess we diet. Oh, smoking.
Smoking.
Okay.
Smoking is bigger than diet for the years done. Okay. But smoking doesn't start as early.
Oh.
So if you're smoking in a particular year, it is the biggest cause of cellular aging. But most people don't smoke at the age of 4.
Right, okay.
Second up is diet.
Okay.
So that's not just shutting down repair mechanisms by the fructose survival hypothesis thing, which if you haven't read about, you should look up. Johnson et al. Fructose survival hypothesis, but it's also increase of oxidative stress by a whole bunch of inflammogenic compounds, and by fructose itself, like the Maillard reaction stuff on the inside of your blood vessels is interesting. So yeah, high sugar, high red meat, high nitrite, I guess, diet is going to push you into more biologically aged cells and increase risk of diseases later. That is not really questioned. What is interesting here is what you can do about it, and less sugar, less red meat, less processed meat. Lovely, simple. Next up, I thought was really interesting. Lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep, interesting.
Do you remember the average amount of screen time that kids are currently getting in the UK?
Oh, it was something awful. Like, which, a school or not a school?
School age.
Like 5 hours or something.
It was
bizarre.
4 or 5 hours, yeah. And that's not coming out of their school time, and it's not coming out of meal time, it's coming out of sleep time.
What?
Average amount of sleep is going down rapidly.
Wow, I did
and
not know
that
that.
started back in the 80s.
Ah.
So these 90s kids...
Televisions in the rooms, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my
as soon
goodness.
as TVs got cheap enough that you could have them in your rooms, sleep starts going down. And that's important. Gwen, why does sleeping reduce biological aging?
Sleeping is when your cells have time to repair.
Yeah.
And it's when you get the right blood supply, it's when you get the right chemicals going around, the right hormones. And if you don't have those, then your cells aren't repairing themselves properly. And hey, biological aging is a failure of ability to keep on top of things. So obviously sleep is a massive player. I just kind of hadn't thought about that so much with children, I guess. And especially the television and screen time thing.
Well, adults have been working on less and less sleep for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
The impact on kids has been much more recent.
Fascinating.
What I find really interesting, there was a medieval manuscript looking at detailing how much sleep different professions needed, and scholars was up there at 9 hours for scholars, which I love. I wish that was still true. But farmhands could get away with 7.
Wow.
And anywhere below 7, you're basically just sanitation workers. But you needed a lot of sleep, and they said that you couldn't possibly expect people to function on less than 8, which I thought was really interesting. Nowadays, the average amount of sleep we get in the UK is something like 6.2 hours or something mad.
Yeah, but we have to say, every time sleep comes up, we have to say there are very big cultural differences in how much sleep people have.
True.
And at a cultural level, again, a cultural level pre a lot of things that disrupt sleep. There are multiple different sleep patterns that seem to be fairly normal, but there is a certain minimum amount of sleep that you need to have in order to repair all your body systems.
Yeah.
Of which your brain is important, but by no means the whole thing.
People who think that sleep is just about the brain do not get sleep. Or
They're just people who study
the game
brain.
theory. They've never really thought about like the mechanics workshop. Chronic stress is on there as well.
Okay, yeah.
And sedentarism, largely because of reduced blood supply to various areas.
Okay.
So, but those are the less important ones. Your major ones here are, for kids anyway, poor diets, lack of sleep. So, why do I raise this? Just because a new paper has looked at the speed at which biological aging is increasing, and it is increasing quite rapidly. The effect of that is already known, and what we can do about that is already pretty well known. This is just a paper that says, yeah, we should probably do something about that. There you go. I leave you with that. Gwen, you said you had another piece of news?
I did say I had another piece of news, but I think that biological aging one was so big and juicy, rather than letting this podcast episode balloon, I suggest we cut to the toppling over part.
The toppling over. Yeah, fall right into it. Okay, well, Gwen's written an article. It's excellent, as is my job to say, and I believe. And it's largely about balance and falling over. So, Gwen, why is it so important to talk about falling over?
The reason I want to talk about falling over is I think it's something that if you ask most parents, they'll say, we don't want kids to fall over because they hurt themselves and that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But actually, falling over is really good in a number of ways, and I just want to highlight
It's funny, so.
why it's really important, really good for the child, not just the parent. And what it is, what the role that it plays in helping a child's development of knowledge of their body, balance, and physical literacy.
Okay, cool. Well then, let's go for the benefits immediately.
Yeah.
Detriments I could do myself. Falling over, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You get quite muddy.
Yeah.
You might scuff up your hands.
Yeah.
And occasionally you bonk your head on the ground and you cry.
Yeah. And then for the parents, you have to send them into the nursery with a head bump, and they make you fill a form. Yeah, exactly. So there's all sorts of detriments.
Before we're too glib, there is a difference to be discussed between falling over and falling off.
Yeah.
Which you wrote down very beautifully, and I thought that was quite cool. Falling over on the flat ground, as long as you're not falling over in front of a car, is basically not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. very occasionally somebody is going to break a bone, but normally I would guess only if they have an underlying osteopathy.
Yeah.
Or they haven't stressed out their bones enough in the past.
Yeah.
But falling off of stuff
Yeah.
is a big issue.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that sometimes those two are conflated in statistics.
Yeah, exactly. So when you read statistics like, the most significant cause of very severe injury in toddler is falls, you might think, oh my goodness, I better not let my child, trip over that step. That could be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
But it's not what they're talking about. They might be talking about falling out of windows, falling off of high surfaces.
Falling down the stairs.
They're falling down the stairs, a massive one.
You didn't think of it because you're
Very
on stairs.
different. It's true.
You can fall down where our stairs used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite painful.
But yeah, so I think there's a really big difference, and those two things are often conflated.
Yeah.
But actually what we're talking about today is children falling over when they're walking, when they're running, when they're looking around to look at something, when, I don't know, they see an aeroplane go over and they fall over backwards. Those are the kind of small, important day-to-day falls. And
Just thinking about them like penguins.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And actually, Greg, I'm going to ask you, what is it that is happening? What is a child learning when they fall over?
Okay, well, I'm gonna approach that from a completely different point of view. The components of the ear.
Okay.
The components of the ear that most people think about are the eardrum, the internal eardrum, the three bones that link them together, and the weird snaily-looking cochlea that's full of fluid and hair cells. And all that apparatus takes sound from the outside world into the brain. Ignore all of that. There is a separate thing in the ear which looks like three horseshoes all at right angles to each other, which, imagine that if you've never seen a diagram. It's like a biblically accurate angel. Anyway, what they are is the body's internal accelerometer. It helps you work out which way gravity is coming from, and therefore which way up you are. As with any really complicated sensor like that, in fact, as with any sensor, to be useful, it needs to be calibrated. You need to understand how to use it. If you didn't have little lines painted all the way around a compass, and somebody just handed you a compass, you would have no idea what was going on. So, to work out where falling over point is, you basically have to fall over. You have to pay attention to what's going on in your inner ear, this balance thing, and you have to go, oh, there it is. That was the point at which I fell over, and that corresponds to this feeling inside my head, and therefore, in the future, I will always know that this feeling inside my head corresponds with falling over, and I will know to stop just before it. But in order to get that knowledge of this feeling corresponds with falling over, you have to fall over.
Yeah.
You need that experience to mark a memory to then build into being roughly a reflex, very similar to a reflex. What else? What else is important about falling over?
I mean, so we've talked about your balance system and calibrating that, but also falling over is a multisensory experience, right?
Certainly.
You see the world shift. You have to put your arms out to catch yourself in a certain way. Maybe you're going to experience pressure on all sorts of different parts of your body. And actually, one of the things that can be very difficult in today's modern world is for children to integrate all of the senses that come from different sensors around the body. And so actually, the way that you help to understand, that when your eyes see this and the ground is looking like that and your hand is there and you can catch yourself, you're actually integrating information from many different parts of your body. And so things like falling, which is intrinsically very unpredictable, is a absolutely key way to integrate the information that you're getting from your different sensors. So there are benefits in terms of learning how to balance. There are benefits in terms of learning how your body works.
Yep.
And it's also a movement, right? It's an interesting movement which loads your arms, which loads your legs, which loads yourself in lots of different ways.
Do you remember the discussion we had during one of the podcasts on the bike? We talked about there being two sets of movement muscles. There are those that move you against a static world, and there are those that prevent the world from moving against a static you.
Yeah.
And the idea of, the world is moving up to meet me quite quickly.
Yeah.
I need to prevent it moving relative to me.
Yeah.
Catching yourself from falling, using a whole bunch of stabilization muscles that you would never use at any other occasion.
Yeah.
We talked about brachiation, the idea that the tree is moving.
Brachiation, for anyone who didn't catch that episode, the movement you do in monkey bars, or the movement that a monkey does when it swings through the trees.
Yeah. Or getting up if you're sitting down and there's a nearby thing you can pull up on.
Yeah.
All about, oh crikey, this tree is moving, I need to brace myself so that I am a fixed point and the world is moving. Mm-hmm. Interesting set of muscles you use in no other occasion.
Mm-hmm. So falling over is a huge opportunity. And
can I add one to that?
Yeah, go for it.
The one that I don't think we concentrate enough on, because we try and think about the physiological, not the psychological, quite hard. Falling over is an opportunity for mental resilience.
Yeah.
It hurts, and it's a surprise.
Yeah.
It's a terrible surprise you weren't planning for at all.
Yeah.
To be able to have the opportunity to go, oh, I've survived something quite surprising, is fantastic for your mental image of yourself as somebody who can survive things, which is really important.
Yeah. I remember, on that note, there was a paper a little while ago, and actually this talks about falling out of things rather than falling over.
Yeah.
But it looked at if you had a relatively significant fall below the age of 9, you're much less likely to have a phobia of heights.
Yeah.
So it's not just that it calibrates your kind of, your physical senses, so to speak, but it also calibrates what your anxiety levels around what is a reasonable fear.
Yeah.
Right, and an unreasonable fear.
I used to be quite scared of getting stung by wasps until I got stung by wasps, and now I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Well, so I guess, one thing I don't think we really think about is that falling over provides an opportunity for so many things that make us human, that make us stronger, that make us better able to deal with life.
In the long term.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
And this is a problem because children don't fall over very much.
Why not?
Now, I think I'm going to pick 3 reasons, and I'm sure you could probably pick another 3, but I think one of them is that when children are in childcare settings where young children spend a very appreciable portion of time, obviously those people who are being paid to look after children, they really don't want to have any injury on their books. They don't want to have uncomfortable conversations with parents. So they are very much incentivised to prevent falls at any cost.
None of those benefits come back to them.
No benefits come back to them, no. And I remember, one of the things that one of my children found really tough about nursery was that they weren't allowed to run. And that's to prevent them falling over. So 1, I think, is childcare. 2, I think that actually children spend a lot of time restrained in different ways. Be that in a car seat, be that in a buggy. And we've talked about the reason that we constrain babies. And because we're in very small families, it's really hard to manage a child when you're alone. We're always in a hurry. We're in a really time-pressured world. Yep. And so often the easiest thing to do is to prevent a child from doing something that you can't just wheel them away from as soon as you need to. So actually, they just have less time where they are walking, so there's less time to fall over.
Okay.
And thirdly, I think there is a big cultural concern about preventing short-term risk at any cost without thinking about the long-term consequences.
I mean, the long-term consequences, to be fair, haven't been known for that long and are very hidden.
Yeah, that is very fair. It is hard to... It's easy for us, we've done the reading, but it's hard to just intuitively look at a child fall over and go, good, that'll sort you out. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Because you don't do that. You look at the child fall over and go, oh, this is a terrible, terrible thing. Let me console this child.
And I remember when we were travelling in places where the environment was intrinsically uncontrollable. Yep. We talked about how that influences people's parenting philosophies. Yep. Because actually, if you can't control the environment, then you don't blame yourself. Like, it's not your job is not to control the environment. Your job is to set up a child who is able to manage those environmental risks. Yeah. And that pushes you down a very different parenting path. But I would say that as our environment has got increasingly controllable in the West, then then actually any times where we haven't adequately controlled our environment then feels like a failure. It feels like it's our fault. And that, I think, is one of many elements that drive a culture in which parents and adults dive to prevent children falling over.
Yeah.
And they make sure that they are, always hold on, don't let go, be careful, because we take those falls, a time that a child falls, as an example of a time that we haven't done what our child needs.
Yeah, I guess thinking of folks I knew in South America while we were there, if a child fell, they would go, I should teach them, rather than, I should protect them, which is what people think here. And that difference means the world to kids' freedom and their ability to grow and develop properly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so we should be tripping kids up more. So it's like just put lubricants on the bottom of their shoes.
I mean, I think deliberately pushing children over is still not ideal. I mean, by the time that we've
illegal in some way.
Controlled an environment so that's the only time a child falls over, that's a very bad thing. But what we can do is give them plenty of opportunities to fall over.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting that we scatter the floor with Lego, but I think one of the really big things, is, as you alluded to earlier, is actually when children are outside, everything is less predictable. The ground is less predictable. The things to look at are more varied. The things to pick up and carry and run around with are different. Children move in many more ways when they're outside. And so that's just one of the benefits of getting kids outside, is that they are very likely to fall down more.
Yes.
So I think one of the things we can definitely do is get kids outside.
Okay.
I wrote in the article about noticing when children are looked after, when young kids are looked after by older kids, older kids never try to catch them when they fall over because they're just not fast enough, and they don't. They're self-centered enough that they don't see that a child is about to fall over until they are halfway to the ground. Also,
to be fair, I would not expect our 7-year-old to be able to catch the 4-year-old because the 4-year-old weighs almost as much as he does.
Exactly. But so actually when you've got multi-age groups without adults present a lot of the time, then there is no one to catch those children. They get that time to practice and to learn how to fall. And so one of the tips I have is, supervise like a child. So don't react. Don't, just watch. You can kind of empathize. You can comfort if they need comfort. You can look really surprised and make it into a joke, because kids love watching.
The first thing they do when they fall is look straight at you.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to know if it was serious or not.
Yeah.
And if they're looking at you to judge whether or not it was serious, it wasn't serious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the old English idiom of, I can't watch, then don't.
Don't watch, turn your back.
Don't watch.
Yeah, great example.
You're still there.
Yeah.
You're supervising if you want to, that's fine. Nothing against people who choose not to supervise, but whatever. Just don't look.
Yeah.
Read a book.
I talked about it in the article on pain, in the podcast on pain actually, which is, if we're at the park and the child's running around, one of my children, and they fall over, I often look away. So when they look at me, they can see that I haven't noticed, because then they have to make their own decision how they react. So just giving a moment for them to think, I don't need to find out from someone else. Do I feel okay? They will tell you if something is bad, they're badly hurt. But a lot of the time, they're like, that was right. I'll get up. It's not worth the hassle of causing a big fuss at this point.
The other kid's still got the football.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the final point I had was around not trying to fill a toddler's time. And that's important, because when we structure every part of their day, the things that we often like to provide for them are the crafts, the games, the sort of quite specific, quite often quite low movement activities that make them really easy to manage. The problem with doing that is if we fill all their time, if we schedule all their time, they don't have much time to just kind of run around, roll about and fall over. So just making sure that they've got enough time to do that learning. Outdoors, supervise like a child, and don't try to fill their time.
Love it. I think that's very clear. Any closing statements on that, or can we go on to a listener question?
Yeah, and we've got a listener question actually that is a little bit in line with the subject of this. Less about falling over and more about falling off.
Okay.
So
Where's
the
this from?
question is this: should I let my child climb a tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you've been
great.
listening to. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that is exactly my answer. But let's give a little bit more nuance.
Okay, go on.
So, climbing a tree is an example of a time where you might think, oh my goodness, that is a real risk of falling off.
Yeah.
And that is true. However, trees that children can climb into often have lots and lots of branches, which mean that a fall is generally not from as big a height. There's a bit of bouncing down on the way. So while there is a risk of falling, the risk is quite low, and the benefits and the variety of tree climbing make it an incredible movement for children to do, and it provides a lot of upper body, of stabilisation and of emotional regulation in a natural and outdoor environment, which provides the various benefits that we talked about earlier. Greg, I would say actually as a child I didn't climb that many trees. I think you did, and therefore you probably have an even stronger perspective than I do on tree climbing.
I think that tree climbing has been the most joyful set of experiences in my life to date, as multiplied by time. So I started very young.
Okay.
And I've been doing it for coming up on 40 years, and it's great. I love it. There is a combination of terror, muscular effort, risky play, teaching, learning, communication, finding cool bugs, trying not to put your hand in a bird poo.
Seeing a long way.
Seeing a long way.
Yeah.
Understanding where you are in your local environment. Getting a mouthful of microbiome. Like getting daylight. It's a fantastic opportunity to have a really good time without spending any money, and normally with other kids, because there is and to be clear, I meant as a child. Nowadays I most often climb with my own kids or with other adults. Anyway, there is a certain competitive element to it. There's a lot of, well, I reckon I can go higher. Well, I reckon you probably can. You weigh less than me. Go for it. Kids are really sensible when climbing trees. Like, it takes a lot of the bravado out of friendships, and there's a lot of cooperation. And I don't think you get many opportunities to do stuff like that as a kid.
And I would say that I think getting kids climbing trees early, it means that they learn a lot of these skills earlier on. I think the people that I've spoken to friends who have hurt themselves falling out of trees, and those friends have been people who didn't climb trees as a young child.
And then tried while drunk at uni?
Tried as teenagers. When you've got then a group of children who can climb trees, you have a couple that don't, who are trying to keep up. That is not good. So it really is a skill to teach children at a young age. And I have a rule that the children need to get themselves into the tree.
Sure.
So I don't hoik them up, because that way big drops lie.
Yeah, like trees with a big single trunk and not many branches. Great way to fall out and hurt yourself.
Yeah,
Scrappy
exactly.
little things where you can actually get into it. Much more rewarding.
Yeah. I watched our 4-year-old climb a tree where, I don't know, I could probably put my fingers around the trunk. The trunk was tiny, but she could still kind of actually climb up a reasonable way. That was just amazing.
It was phenomenal. She was like climbing a string.
It was like climbing a string. Yeah, so, yeah, amazing. Just different movements, so many opportunities, and so much joy.
If your child does not have osteogenesis imperfecta, does not have narcolepsy, and does not have any other immediately life-threatening condition that means that a fall would be fatal, then yeah, they should climb a tree.
Thanks, Greg.
That's all right. Thanks, Gwen. And thanks for you all listening to us here at Growing Up Weird. Bye.
Bye.